In the vast expanse of the Milky Way galaxy, the Galactic Council, a powerful alliance of advanced alien races, convened to discuss the fate of a small, seemingly insignificant planet called Earth. The council members, hailing from various star systems, had long observed humanity's progress and determined that the time had come to seize the planet's valuable resources for their own benefit. The council's decision was swift and unanimous. They would launch a full-scale invasion of Earth, using their superior technology and weaponry to overwhelm the planet's defenses. The humans, they believed, would be no match for their advanced civilizations. As the Galactic Council's fleet approached Earth, humanity's early warning systems detected the incoming threat. Panic spread across the globe as world leaders scrambled to mobilize their military forces. However, it soon became apparent that Earth's defenses were woefully inadequate against the alien onslaught. The invaders' ships, sleek and menacing, descended upon Earth's major cities like a swarm of locusts. Their advanced laser weapons tore through buildings and infrastructure, reducing them to rubble in a matter of seconds. The alien ground troops, clad in impenetrable armor and wielding energy weapons, marched through the streets, effortlessly cutting down any human resistance they encountered. Amidst the chaos and destruction, a young human soldier named Alex Pierce witnessed the devastation firsthand. As a member of an elite military unit, Alex had been tasked with defending one of Earth's last remaining strongholds. But as he watched his fellow soldiers fall one by one, Alex realized that their efforts were futile against the overwhelming might of the alien invaders. Forced to retreat, Alex and a handful of survivors took shelter in an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city. As they tended to their wounds and gathered what meager supplies they could find, Alex's mind raced with questions. Who were these aliens, and why had they come to Earth? What could humanity possibly do to stand against such a formidable enemy? As the sounds of battle raged on in the distance, Alex knew that they couldn't hide forever. Sooner or later, the aliens would find them, and they would be forced to fight once more. But even in the face of almost certain defeat, Alex refused to give up hope. He had sworn an oath to protect his planet and his people, and he would do so until his dying breath. With a renewed sense of determination, Alex gathered his fellow survivors and began to formulate a plan. They would need to be smart, fast, and resourceful if they hoped to have any chance of success against the alien invaders. They would need to study their enemy, learn their weaknesses, and exploit them at every opportunity. As the small group of humans set out into the ruins of their once thriving city, they knew that the road ahead would be long and perilous. But they also knew that they were fighting for something greater than themselves. They were fighting for the survival of their species, for the right to live free from the tyranny of the Galactic Council. And so, with heavy hearts but unbreakable spirits, Alex and his companions embarked on their mission to resist the alien invasion and take back their planet. They knew that the odds were stacked against them, but they also knew that humans had a long history of defying the odds and emerging victorious in the face of adversity. As the sun set on the first day of the invasion, casting long shadows across the war-torn landscape, Alex looked to the stars above and made a silent vow. No matter what challenges lay ahead, no matter how powerful the enemy might be, he would never stop fighting for Earth's freedom. And he knew that somewhere out there, in the vast reaches of the galaxy, there were others like him, ready to stand against the Galactic Council and fight for the future of humanity. In the aftermath of the devastating alien invasion, Earth lay in ruins. The once proud cities were reduced to piles of rubble, and the streets were littered with the bodies of the fallen. The few survivors, like Alex Pierce and his companions, were left to pick up the pieces and find a way to fight back against their alien oppressors. As the days turned into weeks, Alex and his team worked tirelessly to gather intelligence on the Galactic Council's forces. They raided abandoned military bases and scavenged for weapons and supplies, always staying one step ahead of the alien patrols that roamed the ruined cities. During one of these raids, Alex made a startling discovery. While hacking into an alien computer terminal, he stumbled upon a weakness in their technology. The invaders' weapons and ships were all connected to a central network, and if that network could be disrupted, it would greatly hinder their ability to coordinate their attacks. Armed with this knowledge, Alex and his team began to formulate a plan. They would need to infiltrate one of the alien command centers and upload a virus into their network. It was a risky mission, but it was their best hope of turning the tide of the war. As they prepared for the attack, Alex couldn't help but think of all the lives that had been lost in the invasion. He thought of his family, his friends, and his fellow soldiers who had fallen in battle. He knew that he might not survive the mission, but he was willing to give his life to protect what was left of humanity. Under the cover of darkness, Alex and his team made their way to the alien command center. They moved silently through the ruined streets, avoiding the patrols and the surveillance drones that circled overhead. When they finally reached their target, they knew that they would only have one chance to succeed. With a fierce battle cry, Alex and his team charged into the command center, catching the aliens off guard. They fought their way through the halls, taking down the enemy soldiers with a combination of cunning and brute force. Alex himself led the charge, his weapon blazing as he cut a path through the alien ranks. Finally, they'd reached the central control room. As Alex prepared to upload the virus, a group of alien soldiers burst into the room, their weapons trained on the humans. Alex knew that they were outnumbered and outgunned, but he refused to back down. In a desperate last stand, Alex and his team fought with everything they had. They took down scores of alien soldiers, but one by one, they fell to the enemy's superior firepower. Alex himself was badly wounded, but he managed to drag himself to the computer terminal and upload the virus with his last ounce of strength. As the virus spread through the alien network, the invaders' weapons and ships began to malfunction. The tide of the battle turned, and the human resistance was able to score its first major victory against the Galactic Council. News of the victory spread like wildfire across the planet, and hope began to grow in the hearts of the survivors. They knew that the road ahead would be long and hard, but they also knew that they had a chance to win this war and reclaim their planet. As Alex lay recovering from his wounds, he couldn't help but feel a sense of pride in what he and his team had accomplished. They had struck a blow against the alien invaders and shown that humanity would not go down without a fight. He knew that there would be many more battles to come, but he was ready to face them head-on. And so, the human resistance began to grow, with Alex and his team at the forefront. They would continue to fight, to sacrifice, and to do whatever it took to drive the aliens from their planet and restore Earth to its rightful place among the stars. As the human resistance continued to grow, Alex and his team knew that they needed to strike a decisive blow against the Galactic Council. They had managed to score small victories here and there, but they needed something bigger, something that would truly turn the tide of the war in their favor. That's when Alex came up with a daring plan. He proposed infiltrating the alien headquarters on Earth, a massive fortress that served as the nerve center of their operations. If they could get inside and gather crucial intelligence on the Galactic Council's plans and motivations, they could use that information to mount a devastating counterattack. The plan was risky, and many of Alex's fellow resistance fighters were hesitant to go along with it. They knew that the alien headquarters was heavily guarded and that they would be walking into the lion's den. But Alex was convinced that it was their best chance of winning the war, and he managed to rally his team behind him. Under the cover of darkness, Alex and a small group of his most trusted fighters made their way to the alien fortress. They had spent weeks studying the layout of the building and the patterns of the guards, and they knew that they would only have a small window of opportunity to get inside undetected. As they approached the fortress, Alex's heart was pounding in his chest. He knew that everything depended on this mission, and he was determined to see it through to the end. With a silent signal to his team, he led the way inside, using stolen alien technology to bypass the security systems. Once inside, Alex and his team made their way deeper into the fortress, avoiding patrols and surveillance cameras as they went. They finally reached the Central Command Center, where they hoped to find the information they needed. As they searched through the alien computer systems, Alex stumbled upon a shocking discovery. He found evidence that the Galactic Council had been planning the invasion of Earth for years, and that they had been studying humanity's weaknesses and vulnerabilities in order to exploit them. But that wasn't all. Alex also discovered that the Galactic Council had a hidden agenda, one that went far beyond simply conquering Earth for its resources. They believed that humanity posed a threat to their galactic dominance, and they were determined to wipe them out before they could become a rival power. Armed with this knowledge, Alex and his team knew that they had to act fast. They downloaded as much information as they could and prepared to make their escape. But just as they were about to leave, they were discovered by a group of alien soldiers. A fierce battle erupted, with Alex and his team fighting desperately to hold off the aliens long enough to escape. They managed to fight their way out of the command center, but they were pursued by dozens of alien soldiers as they raced through the fortress. In a daring move, Alex ordered his team to split up, hoping to divide the alien forces and increase their chances of escape. He took a small group with him and led the aliens on a wild chase through the fortress, using his knowledge of the layout to stay one step ahead of them. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Alex and his team managed to make it out of the fortress and back to the safety of the resistance base. They were battered and bruised, but they had succeeded in their mission, and they now had the information they needed to mount a devastating counterattack against the Galactic Council. As Alex shared his discoveries with the rest of the resistance, a new sense of determination and purpose swept through their ranks. They knew that the road ahead would be long and difficult, but they also knew that they had a chance to win this war and reclaim their planet once and for all. And so, with Alex leading the charge, the human resistance began to prepare for their greatest battle yet. They would use the information they had gathered to exploit the weaknesses of the Galactic Council and hit them where it hurt the most. The fate of humanity hung in the balance, but they were ready to fight to the bitter end. Armed with the crucial information they had gathered from the alien headquarters, Alex and the human resistance knew that the time had come to launch their most daring attack yet. They had discovered that the Galactic Council's forces were spread thin across the planet, with many of their soldiers and resources tied up in maintaining control over the conquered territories. Alex saw this as an opportunity to strike back hard and fast, hitting the aliens where they were most vulnerable. He gathered his top lieutenants and laid out his plan for a coordinated global assault on the invaders. They would use the intelligence they had gathered to identify key targets and weak points in the alien defenses, and then strike with everything they had. The plan was met with a mix of excitement and trepidation from the other resistance leaders. Some were eager to take the fight to the enemy, while others feared that they were not ready for such a bold move. But Alex was confident in his team and in the strength and resilience of the human spirit. He knew that if they could pull this off, it would be a turning point in the war. Over the next few days, the resistance worked tirelessly to prepare for the assault. They gathered weapons and supplies, trained their fighters in new tactics and strategies, and reached out to other resistance cells around the world to coordinate their efforts. When the day of the attack finally arrived, Alex and his team were ready. They struck hard and fast, hitting the alien forces in a dozen different locations simultaneously. They used their knowledge of the alien technology to disrupt their communications and supply lines, while also targeting their command centers and weapons depots. The aliens were caught completely off guard by the ferocity and coordination of the human assault. They had grown complacent in their belief that the humans were weak and easily controlled, and they were not prepared for the level of resistance they now faced. In one particularly daring raid, Alex and a small team of his best fighters managed to infiltrate a major alien weapons factory. They planted explosives throughout the facility and then fought their way out, detonating the charges as they went. The resulting explosion lit up the night sky and sent shockwaves throughout the alien ranks. As the battle raged on, the human resistance began to gain ground. They retook key cities and territories, liberating their fellow humans from alien oppression and rallying them to join the fight. The aliens, who had once seemed invincible, were now on the defensive, struggling to hold on to what they had conquered. But the Galactic Council was not about to give up easily. They sent in reinforcements from off-world, determined to crush the human uprising once and for all. The Resistance knew that they were in for the fight of their lives, but they were determined to see it through to the end. In the midst of the chaos and destruction, Alex never lost sight of what they were fighting for. He knew that every victory, no matter how small, was a step closer to freedom and a better future for all of humanity. He also knew that they had to be smart and strategic in their approach, conserving their resources and picking their battles carefully. As the war raged on, Alex and his team continued to lead the charge, inspiring others with their bravery and determination. They knew that the road ahead would be long and difficult, but they also knew that they had the strength and the will to see it through. And so, with every passing day, the human resistance grew stronger and more united. They had shown the Galactic Council that they were not a force to be underestimated, and that they would never stop fighting for their right to live free and determine their own destiny. The battle for Earth was far from over, but thanks to the courage and ingenuity of Alex and his fellow resistance fighters, humanity now had a fighting chance. They would continue to push forward, one battle at a time, until they had driven the alien invaders from their world and reclaimed their place among the stars. The Galactic Council was in a state of disarray. They had never anticipated that the humans would be able to mount such a fierce and effective resistance against their invasion. The news of the successful attacks led by Alex and his team had spread like wildfire across the galaxy, and the Council knew that they had to act fast to regain control of the situation. In a desperate attempt to crush the human resistance once and for all, the Council sent in a massive fleet of their most advanced warships and fighters. The sky above Earth was soon filled with the menacing shapes of alien craft, their weapons trained on the planet below. Alex and his team watched in horror as the alien reinforcements arrived. They knew that they were hopelessly outnumbered and outgunned, and that they stood little chance of defeating this new threat on their own. But Alex was not ready to give up just yet. He knew that they had to find a way to even the odds, to give themselves a fighting chance against the overwhelming might of the Galactic Council. In a daring move, Alex proposed a plan to take the fight to the Council's own doorstep. He had discovered the location of the Council's headquarters, a massive space station hidden in a remote corner of the galaxy. If they could infiltrate the station and strike at the heart of the Council's power, they might be able to turn the tide of the war in their favor. The plan was met with skepticism and fear from many of the other resistance leaders. They argued that it was a suicide mission, that they would be walking into a trap from which there would be no escape. But Alex was convinced that it was their only hope, and he managed to rally a small group of his most trusted fighters to join him on this dangerous mission. Using a captured alien ship, Alex and his team set out for the Council's headquarters. They knew that they would have to be incredibly stealthy and cunning to avoid detection, as the station was heavily guarded and protected by the most advanced technology the Council had to offer. As they approached the station, Alex and his team were forced to engage in a series of daring maneuvers to evade the Council's defenses. They dodged and weaved through a hail of laser fire, using every trick and tactic they had learned in their long fight against the aliens. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they managed to dock with the station and make their way inside. The interior of the station was a labyrinth of twisting corridors and high-tech chambers, and the team had to rely on their wits and their weapons to navigate their way through. As they made their way deeper into the heart of the Council's power, Alex and his team were confronted by a series of increasingly difficult challenges. They fought their way through hordes of alien soldiers, hacked into advanced computer systems, and even engaged in hand-to-hand combat with some of the Council's most skilled warriors. But through it all, Alex never lost sight of their mission. He knew that the fate of humanity rested on their shoulders, and he was determined to see it through to the end. Finally, after hours of intense fighting and infiltration, Alex and his team reached the Council's inner sanctum. There, they were confronted by the leaders of the Galactic Council themselves, a group of ancient and powerful aliens who had long viewed humanity as nothing more than a primitive and inferior species. The confrontation was tense and charged with emotion, as Alex and the Council leaders argued and debated the fate of Earth and the future of the galaxy. The Council insisted that humanity was a threat to their power and that they would stop at nothing to eliminate that threat. But Alex countered that humanity had a right to exist and to determine its own destiny, free from the interference and oppression of outside forces. As the debate raged on, it became clear that there could be no compromise, no middle ground between the two sides. The fate of Earth and the galaxy would be decided here and now, in this final confrontation between the human resistance and the Galactic Council. And so, with the fate of everything he held dear hanging in the balance, Alex prepared to make his final stand against the alien invaders. He knew that the odds were stacked against him, but he also knew that he had no choice but to fight on, to the bitter end. In the heart of the Galactic Council's headquarters, Alex and his team stood face to face with the alien leaders who had orchestrated the invasion of Earth. The room was silent, the tension palpable as the two sides stared each other down. The Council leaders were a formidable sight, their ancient and powerful forms radiating an aura of menace and authority. They had ruled the galaxy for eons, and they were not accustomed to being challenged by the likes of a mere human. But Alex was not intimidated. He had come too far, fought too hard, to back down now. He stepped forward, his eyes blazing with determination, and addressed the Council directly. "You have underestimated us," he said, his voice ringing out clear and strong. "You thought that you could conquer our planet, enslave our people, and crush our spirit, but you were wrong. Humanity will never submit to your rule. We will fight you to the last breath, and we will never stop until our world is free." The Council leaders sneered, their expressions full of contempt and disdain. "You are nothing," they said, "a primitive species, barely evolved from the mud of your own planet. What chance do you think you have against the might of the Galactic Council?" But Alex had a surprise in store for the Council. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small device, holding it up for all to see. "This," he said, "is a prototype of a weapon that humanity has been developing in secret. It is a device capable of destroying entire planets, of wiping out entire civilizations in the blink of an eye. And it is pointed directly at the heart of your empire." The Council leaders recoiled in shock and horror, their eyes wide with fear and disbelief. They had never imagined that humanity could possess such a terrible weapon, and the thought of it being used against them was almost too much to bear. Alex pressed his advantage, his voice growing louder and more commanding with every word. "Here are our demands," he said. "You will withdraw all of your forces from Earth immediately. You will provide reparations for the damage you have caused, and you will recognize humanity's right to self-determination. If you refuse, we will not hesitate to use this weapon against you." The Council leaders were silent for a long moment, their minds racing as they tried to come to terms with this new reality. They had always believed that they were invincible, that no force in the galaxy could stand against them. But now, faced with the prospect of total annihilation, they began to waver. Finally, one of the leaders spoke, his voice trembling with a mix of fear and anger. "You would destroy us all," he said. "You would bring ruin upon the entire galaxy just to save your own pathetic planet." But Alex was unmoved. "We will do whatever it takes to protect our world and our people," he said. "The choice is yours. Withdraw and make amends, or face the consequences." In the end, the Council had no choice. They could not risk the destruction of their empire, and they knew that humanity would not back down. With great reluctance, they agreed to Alex's demands and began the process of withdrawing their forces from Earth. As news of the Council's surrender spread across the planet, the human resistance erupted in celebration. They had done the impossible and had brought the mighty Galactic Council to its knees. Alex and his team were hailed as heroes. the saviors of humanity and the defenders of Earth. But even as they celebrated their victory, Alex knew that the fight was far from over. The Council would not forget this humiliation, and they would surely seek revenge in the future. Humanity would need to remain vigilant, to continue to develop its technology and its defenses in order to protect itself from any future threats. But for now, the people of Earth could breathe a sigh of relief. They had faced the greatest challenge in their history and had emerged victorious. And with leaders like Alex at the helm, they knew that they could face any challenge that the future might bring. In the aftermath of the Galactic Council's surrender, Earth found itself in a position of unprecedented power and influence. The once primitive planet had now proven itself to be a force to be reckoned with, capable of standing up to even the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. But with this new power came new challenges and responsibilities. The people of Earth knew that they could not simply rest on their laurels and assume that their troubles were over. They had to work to rebuild their shattered world and to ensure that they would never again be caught unprepared for an alien invasion. At the forefront of this effort was Alex and his team of resistance fighters. They had been instrumental in securing Earth's victory over the Galactic Council, and now they were tasked with leading the planet into a new era of peace and prosperity. One of their first challenges was to deal with the remnants of the alien occupation. Though the Council had withdrawn its forces from Earth, there were still pockets of resistance scattered across the planet, groups of aliens who refused to accept defeat and were determined to continue the fight. Alex and his team worked tirelessly to root out these insurgents, using a combination of diplomacy and force to bring them to heel. It was a long and difficult process, but slowly, piece by piece, they began to restore order to the planet. At the same time, they also began the process of rebuilding Earth's infrastructure and economy. The war had taken a terrible toll on the planet, leaving many cities in ruins and millions of people homeless and destitute. Alex knew that they would need to work quickly to provide aid and support to those who had been most affected by the conflict. To that end, he worked closely with Earth's leaders to develop a comprehensive plan for reconstruction and development. They poured resources into rebuilding homes, schools, and hospitals, and into creating new jobs and industries that could help to drive the planet's economic recovery. But even as they worked to rebuild Earth, Alex and his team knew that they could not afford to let their guard down. The Galactic Council may have been defeated, but there were still many other potential threats out there in the vast reaches of space. To address this, they began to work on strengthening Earth's defenses, both on the ground and in orbit. They developed new weapons and technologies, and trained a new generation of soldiers and pilots who could help to protect the planet from any future invasions. They also began to reach out to other civilizations in the galaxy, seeking to build alliances and partnerships that could help to ensure Earth's long-term security. They knew that they could not stand alone against the dangers of the universe, and that they would need to work together with other species if they hoped to survive and thrive. As the years passed, Earth began to emerge as a major player on the galactic stage. Its people were respected and admired for their bravery and resilience, and its leaders were sought out for their wisdom and guidance. At the center of it all was Alex, who had become a symbol of hope and inspiration for people across the planet. He had led them through their darkest hour and had shown them that anything was possible if they were willing to fight for it. But even as he basked in the glow of Earth's success, Alex knew that there was still much work to be done. The galaxy was a vast and dangerous place, and there would always be new challenges and threats to face. But he also knew that Earth was ready for whatever lay ahead. Its people had proven themselves to be strong, resourceful, and determined, and they would never again allow themselves to be conquered or oppressed. And so, as he looked out across the stars, Alex felt a sense of pride and hope for the future. Earth had come so far, and had achieved so much, and he knew that there was no limit to what they could accomplish in the years to come. Together, they would build a better world, a world of peace, prosperity, and freedom for all. And they would do it on their own terms, as equals among the stars. Years had passed since the fateful day when humanity had emerged victorious against the Galactic Council. The once war-torn Earth had undergone a remarkable transformation, rising from the ashes of destruction to become a thriving, prosperous world. Under the leadership of Alex and his team, the planet had not only rebuilt itself, but had also established itself as a major player in the galactic community. Earth's technological advancements, coupled with its unwavering determination and resilience, had earned it a reputation as a force to be reckoned with. Alex, now a seasoned diplomat and leader, had played a crucial role in forging alliances with other civilizations. He had worked tirelessly to promote peace, cooperation, and mutual understanding among the various species that inhabited the galaxy. His efforts had not gone unnoticed, and he was widely regarded as one of the most influential figures in the universe. But Alex knew that the path to lasting peace was not an easy one. There were still those who harbored resentment towards humanity, believing that they had risen to power through treachery and deceit. Some even whispered that Earth's victory over the Galactic Council had been a fluke, a mere stroke of luck that could not be repeated. Alex, however, was determined to prove them wrong. He knew that humanity's strength lay not in its weapons or its technology, but in its spirit and its resolve. He had seen firsthand the incredible feats that his people were capable of when they worked together towards a common goal. And so, he continued to lead by example, always striving to do what was right and just, even in the face of adversity. He encouraged his fellow humans to embrace their differences, to learn from one another, and to never lose sight of the values that had brought them this far. As Earth continued to grow and prosper, Alex found himself reflecting on the incredible journey that had brought them to this point. He thought back to the early days of the Resistance, when their cause had seemed all but hopeless. He remembered the sacrifices that had been made, the lives that had been lost, and the unbreakable bonds that had been forged in the heat of battle. And he knew that none of it would have been possible without the courage and determination of his fellow humans. They had faced the impossible odds, had stared death in the face, and had emerged stronger and more united than ever before. As he looked out over the shining cities and green fields of Earth, Alex felt a sense of pride and gratitude wash over him. He knew that there would always be challenges to face, that there would always be those who sought to undermine the hard-won peace that they had achieved. But he also knew that humanity would never back down, that they would always stand together in the face of adversity. They had proven themselves to be a species of survivors, of fighters, of dreamers who dared to reach for the stars and make their mark on the universe. And so, as the sun set on another day on Earth, Alex smiled to himself, knowing that the future was bright and full of promise. He knew that he and his fellow humans would continue to explore the vast reaches of space, to forge new alliances, and to build a better tomorrow for all. For they were more than just one planet, more than just one species. They were the guardians of the galaxy, the defenders of peace and justice, the heralds of a new era of hope and possibility. And with each passing day, they would continue to shine as a beacon of light in the darkness, a symbol of all that was good and noble in the universe. For they were human, and they would never be conquered, never be broken, never be forgotten. They were the heroes of Earth, and their story had only just begun.